But it was because he made me feel cared for, the way a cool-ass boss bitch like myself deserves to be. I am so sick of rich guys like you, not only not realizing how much is handed to them, but still thinking they're the victims when they mess everything up because of their lazy entitlement and fragile ego.
A few moments later.
No, I'm glad you said it, Velma. Only friends tell each other the truth, and I'm proud to call you a friend, no matter how annoying I find your voice.
Well, this is it. Just like the 12 labors of Hercules, with this, I have finished reviewing the 10 episodes of Velma. This was not an easy task. And I'm not bragging that even Hercules himself would have taken out his eyes by the 3rd episode if he had to review this show. Like all terrible things come and go, this show too has passed. Humanity is left to heal itself. But as with all things, the future is uncertain. Maybe there will be a 2nd season of this show, or maybe not. I think if they were already working on the 2nd season of this show and poured a lot of money into it, then they will probably continue to finish it and we will witness the apocalypse twice. If they do actually decide to make a 2nd season, I can only speculate that they might learn a thing or two from the audience feedback and improve the show as a whole. Or if we are living in an upside down world, they will double down on this god awful political jokes and probably they will enjoy the attention that it brings to their show, even if it's terrible. I can only imagine it's like masturbating, but instead you put your penis in an anthill. I mean, if the studio's like that, I'm not gonna judge. To each their own. So let's start actually talking about my trauma. I mean the 10th episode of Velma. So this episode starts with Dia Dinkley getting arrested because in the last episode she confessed that she was in fact the serial killer. Velma wants to talk to her mother because to her it didn't make any sense how her mother could recreate Dr. Purdue's research. Velma goes to the police and they are having an auction selling Velma's mother's belonging that includes the van that she drove in the last episode. Then Daphne's mother says that the van was owned by America's only female serial killer. I mean, for a show that is supposed to empower women, it's really selling them short. I just googled female serial killers and Google is asking me if I want to see 20 more on the list. I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole, but you know what? More power to women. Norville is still mad at Velma and Velma is mad at Daphne for kissing Fred in the last episode. Velma is sitting with Daphne's moms and they show him the confession video of Dia Dinkley. She confesses that she wanted to continue doing the experiments to put a brain of a popular girl into the body of her daughter Velma. Velma wants to talk to her mother and Daphne's mother tell her that the only way she can talk to her mother is that she get arrested and she can only get arrested for a murder, apparently. Fred's mom tells Daphne that her new job position is to make Fred smart like her, so basically she's like a celebrity dog trainer. That's not me saying it, it's exactly what Fred's mom said. Velma goes to see Fred and she finds Fred raging that his mom doesn't think he can run the company and also Fred has bought the van that was in the auction earlier. Velma takes Fred to the police station and the police refuses to arrest Velma. Then Fred says, what if someone like Velma was bothering someone like Fred, and their genius plan of using white superiority works and Velma gets arrested. Daphne goes to her locker and finds a chain and a letter from her real mother that abandoned her twice now. She escaped the serial killer and says that it might be a clue to who the serial killer is. I guess this police station has only one cell because they put Velma into the same cell as her mother. Then Velma asks her mother if she really is the serial killer. And she repeats the same thing that she said in the confession. I want to put the brain of a popular girl into the head of my daughter, and she keeps repeating it. Then says that she didn't have amnesia, that she was in fact hypnotized. The police comes and takes Dia for her sentencing, leaving Velma in the cell. Then Daphne comes and says that she has a clue about the real serial killer. She shows Velma a pocket watch. And Velma has another hallucination, but this time she goes into a forgotten memory, the day her mother went missing. She sees her younger self get hypnotized by the serial killer using the same pocket watch to make her believe that it was Velma's mystery solving that caused her mother to go missing and that no one will believe her. Velma sees that the pocket watch has the name Henry Meetings, the army general who hired Dr. Edna to do her research, but he couldn't be the serial killer because he's long dead. Then Daphne apologizes and they are, oh god damn it, they're about to kiss again but are interrupted by Daphne's phone ringing. She picks up the phone and Fred is in trouble, so she leaves because again it's her job to take care of Fred. When she leaves, Fred's father is outside the police station observing quite ominously. Then we cut to yet another shower scene like the first episode, and they are still making meta jokes just like the first episode, but something is different this time. Oh wait, there's some extra fog to censor their bodies. I have to assume that it was because of the backlash of the first episode. I mean, great job taking notes from anime harnessing the power of fog. Velma asks if the brains recognize the pocket watch, but they don't. Then Gigi gets mad at Velma because Norville is leaving the school because of her. Then Velma is trying to solve the mystery in her home and starts listening to Norville's VMs, which means voicemail, in case you guys didn't know. So Velma figures out that the watch the army general was using was made by Fred's dad's company. So she goes down to explain to her father that her mother is innocent. She goes to Fred's house with her dad and then goes down into the well and leaves a VM for Norville. And again, a VM means a voicemail, in case you guys didn't know. She goes into the caves and finds a room where Fred and Daphne are confined with the serial killer about to perform the surgery on them. Velma somehow subdues the serial killer and frees both Fred and Daphne. Then Velma takes off the mask of the serial killer and she is Fred's mother. People. Can I take a moment to say that I was right? A couple of videos ago, I already predicted that the serial killers will be Fred's parents. I mean, I'm half right, but still right nonetheless. Velma explains that Fred's mother wanted to replace Fred's brain with someone else. Fred's mother explains that General Harry was her father and that Dr. Perdue has in fact succeeded in her experiments. But General Harry decided to take the credit for the operation, which made Dr. Perdue very angry. She undid the experiments and hid her journals. Harry put Perdue in an insane asylum to make her talk, but she never cracked, which ruined him, and he left. And to not die poor, she decided to marry someone rich. That was Fred's father. Then she built the business with hard work and she could not see it be undone by Fred. So she moved to Dr. Perdue's old home and find the journals, but dear Dinkley had already found the journals, so Fred's mother hypnotized her to continue the research. Then Daphne says why did she always went for hot girls, and Fred's mom says that she needed someone like her, an ambitious woman who could see the potential of what she could accomplish in a white man's body. Again, this sounds so god awful that I don't even want to waste my breath on this. Let's move on. Then she says that maybe the perfect brain for Fred is in fact Velma's. I know serial killers are not right in the brain, but this has to be the worst decision she has ever made. She calls her husband, who she has already hypnotized. She has Velma and Fred restrained, and Velma says that if the operation is successful, then she would go to the police the first chance she gets. Then Fred's mom tries to persuade Velma by saying that someone like her can imagine what it would feel like to be in a white man's body. Then Velma agrees and says that Fred is just a white man with so much handed to him and with fragile ego, which makes Fred really angry, and Velma keeps fueling his anger. Fred ends up getting released from the restraints and subdues his father, which is kind of impressive, I guess. Fred releases Velma and then thanks her for telling him the truth. Fred falls in love with the woman after she got him shot in the legs, then arrested, and then humiliated in front of the whole town, and then thrown into prison. What's the logical reaction of someone like Fred in this situation? If you said that he falls in love with Velma, then you win $1 billion, because that is exactly what this show does. So what's Fred's reaction after being told that he is a terrible person for being born white and is continued to be harassed by Velma? Well, he gets up and thanks Velma, because that is what an ideal man is. He falls in love with women who selfishly destroyed their lives and then thanks them for their harassment. Is this a surprise that no one likes this show? Other movies also do this, but this show takes this thing to 100 and then multiplies it with 1,000. Anyway, so Fred's mom runs away and Fred goes after her. Velma and Daphne are about to escape, but then Fred's mom comes in because obviously Fred failed to subdue her. Then Daphne says that if this is the end, she wants Velma to know that she really loves her. And this time they are actually able to kiss, and after they kiss, Velma says says that I love you to Norville, which obviously surprises Daphne. And then Norville shows up because he received Velma's VM, which means voicemail, in case you guys didn't know. Fred's mom shoots a bullet at Norville, but he parries it with his sword like he's in Matrix, and it hits the rock above Fred's mother, which comes loose and falls on her, killing her immediately. Then Velma says that this feels like the perfect day because she solves the mystery and starts twerking while Fred's dead mother lays on the ground and Fred looks in horror. Again, I don't think Velma is Satan. I think she gave birth to Satan and taught him everything he knows. Then they are honored by the mayor and he gives them the keys to the city. Then Velma and her mother are lovingly watching a horror movie by throwing her dad and stepmother and her baby outside their own home. Daphne receives a weird letter and Fred is visiting his mom's grave, and instead of living with his father, he lives in his new van. Velma gathers the evidence against Fred's mother and takes it to the police. Then he offers if Velma would like to be a real detective. Well, at the end of the credits scene, the police officer who offered Velma the job is presumably killed by the ghost of Dr. Edna Purdue. And finally, this show has come to an end. If anything, this show has definitely given me the 12,000 yard stare and a god awful amount of PTSD. Or even STD, I'm not sure, but I won't be surprised if people have STDs after watching this show, because this show makes Black Death look like walking in heaven. I would have eaten 15 disease-ridden rats during the Black Death then watched this show, but I suppose the world is unfair. Maybe Nietzsche was up to something when he said God is dead and we have killed him, because a show like this could not exist in a world where God exists. Well, if we talk about Velma as a show, I mean a lot of people including me have said that this show is the worst show of all time. But after finishing it, I've come to a surprising realization. If we take Velma out of her own show, this show would be 99% better, because the most awful part of this show is Velma. Like every time I say the word Velma, I think about rattlesnake's poison. But I suppose it is an insult to the snake and I could get a lawsuit against me by the rattlesnakes of the world, so I should probably be careful of what I say. Anyways, if you are a fellow warrior like me who had the balls to watch this show, you would understand that this show was kind of bearable and I might even dare say a little enjoyable when Velma was not on the screen. Unfortunately, this show is named after Velma, so she is pretty much all the time on the screen, which makes this show an absolute sore to my eyes. Actually, I discovered a solution of watching this show with less pain. If you stick a cactus in your eyes, then you don't have to watch Velma and your brain is too occupied with the pain to focus on the show. And you know what infuriates me the most about this show? This show made Velma a damned harem anime protagonist. Like every member of this gang is in love with Velma, because as bad as this show is, I was at least hoping that by the end of the show, Velma and Daphne will be a couple. But instead they made it a triangle by adding Norville as well, and Fred is already a simp for Velma. Like there is a big disconnect between the audience and the show, because the show thinks that Velma deserves this attention, but the audience has the complete opposite impression, that it's really hard for the audience to believe that someone could love someone as selfish and narcissist as Velma. Anyways, I'm planning to put myself through pain just a little bit more by making one more review on this show as a whole, and I'll talk about Velma more in that video, which should be up next Sunday. So that's all for this review. I hope you have a wonderful day or night, and for now, it's a goodbye.